Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. Yeah, it's snowing outside today. I don't feel like doing anything except a collection update, so that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'm guessing that's why you're here. Uh, all right, we're gonna start out with what I would consider to be a true Toronto rarity. It's a band called The Rage. It's I've Got Your Number, backed with Stay. It's on Rage Records. It's from 1982. Uh, this record barely ever turns up, so I decided to grab one while I could. Um, Two tracks, great, melodic early punk. Uh, the singer, his voice isn't really strong, so it kind of gives more of an amateurish kind of feel, which works for both songs. The A side, I've Got Your Number, sticks in my head for days. Uh, but other than that, I until I got this, I knew nothing about this band. And the reason that I now know stuff about this band is because the guy who had this before did a bang up job from an archival standpoint. He created a two-sided bio, and he added some reproductions of some of their old flyers, like one of their shows here from the Turning Point, Rage, the latest in British new wave. You got one here from also from the Turning Point with the Rockhounds and the Vile Tones. One from the Horseshoe Tavern with the Vile Tones. One from Larry's Hideaway with Crash Kills 5, who of course would go on to be Shadowy Men from a Shadowy Planet, who did the theme song for Kids in the Hall. And lastly, a Halloween party at the Roxy Theater with Teenage Head. Yeah, cool. Truth be told, they actually sound more like they came from the late 70s as opposed to the early 80s, but regardless, two songs, good melodic Toronto punk from the old days. All right, we'll stay in Toronto, 1977. It's on Nimbus 9 Records. It's the Poles, CN Tower, back with Prime Time. The Poles, band led by Michael Jordana and Doug Pringle. Uh, Michael Jordana, she's a fairly well-known Canadian artist, a painter, I believe, and she's also an educator of art at a post-secondary level. And Doug Pringle was in a band called Syrinx that were around in the early '70s. They were like electronic prog band. Um, they eventually got married. I don't know if they were married when this came out, but they eventually did get married, became a couple. Um, Now, CN Tower it's a slowish kind of brooding, somewhat menacing track. There's a pretty heavy AOR feel to it. It kind of reminds me of if a band like Rough Trade decided to do a punk song. But by and large, it's a really good song. Prime Time, it's a little more energetic, but it's got kind of a boogie rock vibe injected into it. Like, I mean, it was the '70s and it's in there, but depending on my mood, I may or may not like it. It's okay, but CN Tower is definitely the winner here. So, yeah, the Poles. Next, kind of a rare circumstance with this record. There's a there's a thrift store by where I work. I stopped stopped in there one day after work, and I actually found a record that I was looking for, which is really rare for thrift store finds. But it's the True Confessions single for "Give 'Em a Great Big Kiss." I've showed their LP before. This came out in 1979 on Bomb Records. The LP came out a year later. You got Julia and Anna Bork, who were in a Toronto band called The Curse, best known for their Shoe Shine Boy single. And this is Ruby Tees, who I've talked about a couple times before. She was the girlfriend of Mike Nightmare from The Ugly. She also disappeared off the face of the earth under dubious circumstances. After this record, like when they did the LP, it was only, I think, Julia Bork. One of the Borks was on that record, and none of these other people. So, anyways, this is it's pretty reminiscent of like '60s girl bands like the Shangri-Las and that. But there's almost kind of like an early CBGB's, thing in there. Albeit fleetingly, but you can hear a little Blondie in there now and again and whatnot, like old school Blondie as opposed to the disco era. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's not an expensive record. It just never shows up. There hasn't been one sold on Discogs in quite a while. They had this marked for like $8. I went to the counter. I'm like, you really want $8 for this? And he ended up giving it to me for $2. But yeah, it's not too bad. The A side's the more up tempo one. The B side's called Jimmy's Fast, and it's just a little more of a standard 60s influenced like girl band song. Yeah, not bad. True Confessions. We'll go over to Montreal. A band called Blue Oil. It's Money backed with Living for the Time. This is a really punk heavy new wave. It's 2 women and a dude, if I recall correctly. The A side, Money, the chorus is crazy catchy. Just jumps into my head at random times during the week. Living with the Time, a little more subdued, a little more, mid-tempo, not quite as quirky. It's okay, but the A side's the definite winner. Self-released by the band in 1982. They did go on to do other records after this, but they were more, mainstreamy sounding. Definitely not nearly as interesting as this. The song Money actually made an appearance on, I think, the last of the Standing in the Shadows compilations that Mean Bean Records put out. Yeah, Blue Oil. Speaking of Mean Bean Records, here you got the Remedials 4-song EP. It's on Basic Records from 1981. But Mean Bean Records did a reissue of this just a couple years ago, which I suggest you all pick up. Now the Remedials, for me, they just feel like your weird uncle's bar rock band. Like, there's 4 tracks on here. The first 3 are, essentially, bar rock with a bit of a bluesy feel. Maybe a little weird, but I don't know if that's just because they're just an amateur bar rock band. But the last song, You Make It Hard, is the winner. It's got the weirdness. It's like if just a bar rock band decided to try their hand at writing a new wave song and they actually wrote a good one. So yeah, that song's definitely the winner, and it's the one I had heard first, which made me want to grab this record. But yeah, you don't see originals of it pop up. It wasn't very much money, so I grabbed it. So yeah, the Remedials out of Montreal, 4-song EP, 1981, and that guy. That fucking guy. Now we're going to Albany, New York, in the United States of America. It's a band called the ADs. It's called Alone Again. It's from 1981. It's on Blue Lunch Records. The ADs, they've got a few 7 inches out. They're probably best known for Living Downtown, which I believe is their first. I'm pretty sure it was comped on like one of the Kill by Death comps or something. This one here, I believe, is their second. The title track, Alone Again, it's like a bass, well, not bass, like a bass guitar driven melodic punk song. It's very good. It's not so melodic that it or not so kind of quirky that it falls over into the new wave atmosphere or the power pop atmosphere, but it's just a good solid melodic punk song with kind of amateur-y, kind of crooned vocals. The second song, These Four Walls, totally sounds like a 1960s garage punk song. And that makes sense because the third track is a cover of a 1960s garage punk song, 1966, Bad Girl by the Zachary Thax out of Texas. It's a half-decent cover. I mean, I'd rather hear the original, but whatever. By and large, all 3 songs, totally good. The ADs, Albany, New York. Now we'll go to Alaska, 1982. It's on a label called Leopard Licks. It's the Plads, Calling Girls. Backed with, what the hell's that other song called? Out of Control. This is awesome. I've had an MP3 for the A side for Calling Girls. I've had it for years. I've never heard the other song, and now that I have, it's equally as good. This is just really revved up power pop, kind of like a revved up Paul Collins beat or the Plimsolls or something. It's just lots of energy to it. You know, it's well played. Vocals are on point. Yeah, I'm actually really glad I grabbed this. It's doesn't turn up often with the cover for some reason, but this one did. There's an LP that came out after this. I've heard that it's kind of more metal, so I'm interested in hearing it. I just don't know if I want to kick the money down for it. But yeah, the Plads out of Alaska. Very few Alaskan punk bands from the old days I can think of, like Skate Death and the Anemic Boyfriends, and I think that's about it. Now down to Los Angeles for kind of a, I guess, potentially sketchy record, maybe. It's the Weasels, Beat Her with a Rake, on Siamese Records. It's from 1978. I'm pretty sure I saw Vinyl Richie mention this once before. I was aware of the song. This record just popped up and it was cheap, so I decided I'll give her a go. Apparently there's a Van Halen connection with this band. They apparently like toured with them a couple times in Van Halen's like pre-spandex days. And it makes total sense because musically this band is definitely veering off in the arena rock direction. But it's just the singer probably held them back. Like he just kind of goes overboard, a little over the top. But his lyrics, I'm assuming they're his lyrics, are just like shitty, like Mentors, like misogynistic, but you're almost like there's no way he can be serious. At least I hope he's not serious. But yeah, Beat Her with a Rake, and the B-side's called I'm the Commander. Yeah, take it what it is, kind of offensive, hopefully tongue-in-cheek, arena rock / punk rock. The Weasels. Now we're going over to Ireland, a band everybody knows. I won't spend much time on it, but the Boomtown Rats, Looking After Number 1 7-inch. It's on Ensign Records, 1977. All 3 songs on this are great. Looking After Number 1 is definitely within my top 10 punk songs of all time. Like when I was a kid, before I got into punk, I had heard, I Don't Like Mondays, and I never would have ever probably envisioned that the Boomtown Rats were, ever anything even close to a punk band. But then I got the Burning Ambitions, A History of Punk compilation, and it has Looking After Number 1 on it. And then I got, how good the Boomtown Rats could be, even though most of the time on their records, they just weren't that good. But yeah, I'm glad to have this record. B-side has Born to Burn, the studio version of that, and then Barefootin', which was recorded in Amsterdam, but it's an actually, it's actually a really good live recording. So glad to have it. Y'all know who they are. And we'll finish this all off with the British stuff. Got the Stiffs, Volume Control 7-inch. This is fantastic. It's good, anthemic, British punk rock. I would throw it in the same camp as like Stiff Little Fingers, as far as like, early Stiff Little Fingers. Stylistically, there's just not, the politics that Stiff Little Fingers had in their lyrics and whatnot, but it's that kind of punk. This is on, what is it? Zonophone Records. It's from 1980. I'd always heard the song Volume Control, and I really, really liked it, so I figured I'd get the single, and, all the songs on it. The second one, Nothing to Lose, also good. So, yeah. The Stiffs. All right, another British band. It's In Tune by Johnny Curious and the Strangers. I would say it's definitely a mod revival thing going on here. Some of their songs have a little more attitude to them, but there's always melody. Like the song Pissheadsville. That's a fantastic, kind of mean sounding, late 70s British punk song. But then you got Jennifer, which is almost like a power pop thing. So, I don't know. All the songs on this are really, really good. And I'm glad I got it. It's on, Illegal Records. It's from 1978. So, yeah. Johnny Curious and the Strangers. We got from 1979 on the Rocket Record Company, the Lambrettas, Go Steady. Mod revival from Brighton. Definitely heavy in the power pop direction. God, Go Steady's a great song, but all the songs on this, like Go Steady, Cortinas, and Listen, 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 they're all good. I know Bruce over at Punk's Not Dad showed their LP not too long ago. And so now I'm showing you the 7-inch. So yeah, the Lambrettas. Go Steady. And lastly, Zip Records, 1981. British band, the Cassettes, Reverberate. The B-side is Don't Label Me. Reverberate is a fantastic song, and it's very unique for, late 70s, early 80s, punk in general. Very, very melodic. The harmonies are great. The guitar playing, it's almost like Spanish guitar playing in it, and it just adds, that little bit of different that I like a lot of times. The B-side, however, the B-side's like when you walk into a mall and you see a structure there and it's sitting on top of that green, like fake AstroTurf, outdoor trailer carpet. There's a structure on there that looks like a cross between a shitty backyard gazebo and the Parthenon. There's a lot of ferns around in like dollar store white plastic planters. And then these three guys with like Kenny G hair that's tightly pulled back into a ponytail. They come out, and the one guy plugs in his semi-acoustic guitar and starts singing bullshit. You're just like, shut the fuck up. That's what the B-side of this record's like. So the A-side, over the top, fucking great. The B-side can fucking suck it. So whatever, it's the Cassettes. That's what I got. See ya.